Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH.
This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things we personally find intriguing enough for us to bring to you.
The source of this information comes from the smart device application Today in History on this day.
For links to the app, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the box below. And in case you didn't notice, I have wonderful Alice with me today. Introduce yourself.
Who is Alice? Who is she? I don't know.
Anyway, on with the show.
Today is Woden's Day, aka Odin's Day, aka Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. And on this day,
in 1432, the most active phase of the Lithuanian Civil War was launched when, near the town of Osmiana, today known as Ashmyany, the first battle between the forces of Svitrigaila and Sigismund Kestutaitis occurred. In 1660, either Margaret Hughes or Anne Marshall made history when one of them became the first female to appear on an English public stage, playing the character of Desdemona in Shakespeare's play Othello. Moving up a couple hundred years in 1851, the 1851 Chilean Revolution saw the beginning to its end when rebels were defeated by conservative Santiago-based government troops at the Battle of Loncomilla. Moving up into the next century in 1912,
the Staatsgericht in Berlin, an Imperial World Council, was held by the leaders of the German Empire to discuss the possibility that war might break out, especially after Russia's great military program announcement the previous month.
29 years later, in 1941, the United States of America entered World War II with a declaration of war against Japan after U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared December 7th to be
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Also in 1941, Shanghai International Settlement, Malaya, Thailand, Hong Kong, the Philippines, and the Dutch East Indies were simultaneously invaded by Japanese forces during World War II.
In 1953, the United States programmed to supply equipment and information on nuclear power to schools, hospitals, and research institutions around the world was announced in U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower's Atom for Peace speech. In 1955, the Council of Europe adopted the flag of Europe, known today as the flag of European Union. It represents the coalition of 27 states. In 1969, the worst crash of a Douglas DC-6 occurred when an Olympic Airways Flight 954 struck a mountain outside of Croatia, Greece, casting the deaths of 90 people. What happened in 1972? The first ever loss of a Boeing 737 happened, witnessing the deaths of 45 people when United Airlines Flight 553 crashed after aborting its landing attempted at a Chicago Midway International Airport.
Welcome to the planetarium.
2 years after that, in 1974, a plebiscite, which is a direct vote of all the members of an electorate on an important public question such as a change in the Constitution, resulted in the abolition of monarchy in Greece. 6 years later, in 1980, Mark David Chapman murdered John Lennon in front of the Dakota in New York City.
Why did John Lennon have to be the one to get shot? Something's wrong.
5 years after that, in 1985, the regional intergovernmental organizations of the Geopolitical Union in South Asia, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, was established. Also, in 1987, a few years later, the U.S. President Ronald Reagan and the Soviet Union Mikhail Gorbachev signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty in the White House during the Cold War.
3 years later, in 1990, the Galileo spacecraft, passing within 600 miles of Earth, traversed by our blue marble for the first time, using our planet's gravity as a speed booster on its way to study Jupiter. 1 year later, in 1991, the Soviet Union was dissolved upon the signing of an agreement between the leaders of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, establishing the Commonwealth of Independent States.
The Soviet Union will be pleased to offer amnesty to your wayward vassal.
The Soviet Union? I thought you guys broke up.
Yes, that's what we wanted you to think.
365 days later, in 1992, the Galileo spacecraft once again flew past and used Earth's gravity, and would later use Venus to do the same, with plans to rendezvous with Jupiter 3 years later. Moving past the millennium, in 2004, the South American Community of Nations was established with the signing of the Cusco Declaration in Cusco, Peru. This merger of two existing major South American trade blocs of the Andean Community and the Southern Common Market joined Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay into a union of sorts.
Today in 2004, best known by his stage name Dimebag Darrell Lance Abbott, the guitarist of both heavy metal bands Pantera and Damageplan, was among 3 others who were shot and killed by a disgruntled fan on stage in a Columbus, Ohio show.
In 2010, Icarus, the Japanese solar sail spacecraft, passed the planet Venus at a distance of 80,800 kilometers, proving concept into reality of solar sail technology in interplanetary space. Also in 2010, SpaceX, eventually to be the first private company to successfully launch, orbit, and recover a spacecraft, launched the Falcon 9 rocket for the second time, it carrying the Dragon, making it the first flight for the capsule.
Today, December 8th in 2013, becoming the first band to ever perform on all 7 continents, Metallica shook the icy landscapes of Antarctica.
First, Mary, Queen of Scots, 1542. She was the daughter of James V of Scotland and Mary of Guise at Linlithgow Palace.
And we have Eli Whitney in 1765. He was an engineer and invented the cotton gin.
E.C. Singer, 1894, a cartoonist for the United States, and he created Popeye.
And in 1925, we have the United States actor, singer, and dancer, Sammy Davis Jr.
David Carradine, 1936, another actor for the States. He was also a director and producer.
And we also have a Mike Buchanan in 1957, British men's rights activist.
Deaths, Drogo of Metz, 855. He was the illegitimate son of Charlemagne. Slim Pickens, 1983, an actor for the United States.
Oh, we have a Douglas Tompkins, United States businessman, who co-founded the North Face and Esprit Holdings in 2015. And we also have a sad death in 2016 of Mr. John Glenn, United States astronaut and senator, first to go into orbit.
First American to go into orbit.
America.
And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in. For your dose of Past Events Daily, I am A.O. Xander.
And I am Who is Alice.
For all of you and all of us, thank you for watching, and you will see us in 2 days. Toodles.
Toodles. Be cool, stay in school.